the black hole. Sing for my soul.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Sunshine on Leyth, the analysis days. Yes, here we go. So, season 12, we are done. So, budgets, 44 million and nearly $500,000 in wages to spend this summer. We can build, I'm just going to basically go after some real young talent to try to just build this team for the future now. I think that's our best bet at overthrowing someone like Manchester City, because we're not going to have the clout to basically go and get first team quality players. We need to produce them ourselves. And one of the beautiful things about that is the board are investing. They've invested a load of money now in youth and training facilities without me asking. I've also asked them to up the data analysis. We're upping the junior coaching and the youth recruitment all in the same summer. So big stuff there. And in addition to that, and people will find out this tomorrow in the other video, but those of you that watch this get a little head start, the board are upping the stadium again to 18,900 seats now in the stadium, which means that this season we'll be sharing with Norwich City. So we're now going to be playing at Carrow Road for the year, which means some nice big attendances potentially for us. So I guess there's that. But we'll be able to move back in to the Lighthouse towards the end of the season for next year. But it's going to be, I think, slightly bigger than the... Oh, no, there's just 22,000 now, isn't it? So the the arms race in terms of stadium size continues unabated, it feels like. So, yeah, I'm just looking at some new scouts potentially and a brand new head of youth development. I really do want to make sure that we get the best possible players out of that. And the reason I've gone for Steve Weaver is because he's got perfectionist personality and his preferred formation is the one that we play, which is really, really important when bringing players through. And he's also got like 20s across the board in the really important attributes, which is very, very key. So we're going to be bringing him in to replace Sean Welford. So hopefully this year with the youth intake, we might be able to get some quality. Also worth knowing, Andrea Buffo's 50% of next sale fee clause. Well, would you look at that? We can get another £9 million from the deal for Andrea Buffo. Remember, he moved for 13 million. We're about to get potentially another 9 million. For a guy that we got for free, we're going to earn over 20 million in transfer fees. And in addition to that, the board have told me that we're keeping 100% of transfer revenue because we've got so much money. So that literally is just going to be another 9 million. We're going to have 50 million pounds to spend this summer. So I'm going to sell this clause because there's no way that they sell him for any more money than, like, his value currently is 8.5 million pounds and they're willing to pay us more than his value just to get rid of that clause. So that's all cool for me. So let's go look at the squad, shall we? While we're at it. Got to sort this out. Do a quick little run through of what I thought this year. I mean, Clive Kimberley has been my player of the season. 6 goals and 14 assists in the Premier League has been nothing short of outstanding. I did not expect him to hit the ground running quite in the way that he did, but he has been spectacular for us this year. And if he does that, and he's only 22, remember, I could honestly see this guy maybe getting an England call up one day. Maybe not. Maybe that's a bit of a push, but I love him so damn much. So big up to him. Michael Lee still has another year left in his contract. Yeah, I don't know what to do with Michael Lee, to be honest. He probably will just leave. Sean Levy. He has another year left on his deal. He'll probably stick around for that year, maybe go out on loan next year. I'm not entirely sure. Got a lot of goals for Jamaica, though, so fair play to him on that one. You can really see, though, that the strike force is suffering as things stand. Marcolini hasn't played much, did score a goal. So that's kind of good. He's one for the future anyway, but, you know, he's still got another 4 years left on his deal, so nothing we can really say about old Marco there. Marcus Roberto still hasn't got the work permit sorted, but maybe we can make this guy into something. I'd probably rather train him further up here, because I think that's where he's actually going to be beneficial, but I regret this deal somewhat, so we'll try to maybe move him on in the summer. We'll see. Max McCoy, his contract's up this summer. He's been on loan at Ross County for the year. That's fine. Max will be leaving in the summer too, so that will few up a tiny bit of wages. Morelli's obviously on loan from Inter Milan. If I could get him back next year, I'd probably be quite tempted because I think he's done okay for us this season, to be fair. And I don't know if he'd be able to get a better player permanently anyway. So if we do get him back, then I would be firmly on board with that. Dave Morton, only got 1 year left on his deal. I think if anyone deserves an extension to his contract for the way that he's played recently, it's Dave bloody Morton. Still, only started 10 games in the Premier League and still managed to get 6 Premier League goals for us this year. What an absolute god he is. An underrated hero of this save. I think he deserves a 3-year contract or something to take him through till he's 27 at this club. He's never going to be fantastic, but I do think he deserves it more than anything else. Look at the money he's on playing in the Premier League. He deserves more than that. Nearly 200 league games as well for Whitport. What a man. Simon Nelson, what a god. I mean, yeah, he's still got 3 years left on his deal. He's not on that much money himself, but he is improving at a rate of knots. He's already got 16 caps for Northern Ireland at the age of 20. He's played over 100 times for Whitport, again, before the age of 20, to have already 100 league appearances for us. 7 goals so far this season in the league. He's done well, but I think pushing up to that more attacking role could get more out of him next year. If he could just work on that finishing a little bit, which is something I'm probably going to move over to training him on now, because he's got relatively good on all his other areas for now. I do think that a little bit of extra finishing ability, get that up to like a 10 or an 11, and this guy could be lethal in the box, and that's probably what I'm going to do immediately. Russell Nevitt still has a year left on his deal. He's sort of fallen down the order this year, given that we brought in 2 left-backs this summer. And we've also got Ross Harris to come too. So I feel like despite making 182 league appearances for us, Russell Nevitt's time at the club might be coming to an end soon. Ollie Pratt. Still got a lot of time for Ollie Pratt. Is 21 though. See, he did well out on loan this year. So we'll just have to sort of see where his future lies, I suppose. Ben Putman-Kiteley still has 2 years left on his deal. I love him. He'll be sticking around, obviously. Somehow made 13 Premier League games this year. He's made 209 appearances in the league now for Whitport. What a god. More appearances in here since he's made more appearances in the Premier League than he has in either League One or the Championship. Demetrius Ropas, first season at the club. Can't argue and say that it was a success because I don't think it was. Just the 3 goals, 3 assists. We need more out of him next year. But I do think he's got the tools to be that player for us. Hicham Sabar, again, wasn't brought in to be a first choice goalkeeper. I think he's fine as a backup and I'm happy to let him be that. Matteo Serna, I feel like has got potential to be really good. We just need to get that work permit for the lad. Sean Smith, been on loan at Newcastle for the second half of the season because I couldn't really find a place for him. We'll see how it goes with him, really. Maybe we could even send him to Newcastle. I don't know. Fran Sullivan still has 3 months out. So, actually, he could be back. But you could see the toll it's taken on his physicals. If we actually look at his progress here, attribute changes, I mean, it's not what you want to see, is it? Dropping just across the board. Weirdly, his natural fitness is sort of plateaued, and his jumping reach is sort of doing okay. But you can see the drop off on a lot of these, particularly his pace. Has gone from 13 down to 13. But you can see what I mean. I'm concerned about that. And his bravery as well has dropped dramatically from 11 to 7. 7. So it's going to affect him, and I'm worried about what it's going to be like long term for him when he does come back, because he was still looking okay for us this year as well. Hopefully he can get back to his best, but I am very concerned about that. Very, very concerned indeed. Curtis Thomas is obviously on loan at Derry City. Doing all right for them. He's made 45 appearances for them now. You just like to see it, Fraser Thompson has been fantastic for us again. 69 league appearances for us. Nice. If they can let us have him on loan for another year, then I will happily take him. Although his value is falling, so I wonder if we could get him permanently. You never know. I mean, is there even any hint that he would want to come to us? I mean, actually, it would cost us a fair bit, but he's bloody good. So maybe there is something there with Fraser Thompson. He's been fantastic. Fleury Schurter, again, he's very, very young, and he's thrown into a lot more Premier League football than I expected from him this year. Never scored in the league, but I don't know. I feel like there's something to come from him. He's still not a bad player by any stretch. Mate Vukoripa, or Mate, as I've been referring to him, I think he's done okay. Again, because we found Vertelbor, it's always very difficult to know what he's still found time to get some game time, to be fair. What is this? Long throw. Oh, he does have a very good long throw. Not that we really use long throws in this save at all. I refuse to do that on this particular save. Luke Watson, 25 years old. I think he was a bargain at the time, but he's the sort of player that if I could move him on in the summer, I potentially would do, just because I feel like we might be able to find better. Although I'm not sure. It's really hard to say at this point. Vertelbor, love what he's done this year. I still think there's room for improvement on him, of course. He's been actually making a steady decline over a lot of the season, ironically. And I don't really know why in that one either, but we will have to see. Omer Afkir has finally got himself his work permit now, so I expect to see a lot more of this guy next season, particularly when the fixture congestion starts to come, because he's actually our 3rd best centre-back, or certainly up there with those ones, so make of that what you will. Wim Billington, 15 goals this season. It's certainly a step down from his previous seasons, but what were we expecting from him? He's sort of stagnated a bit. I love that he's thinking about whether he needs to move to a bigger club. I think you might need to roll that one back in there, Win. We need to look in the summer about who's going to be starting up top next year, and I wonder whether it might be Ropas at this rate. It's just... Then again, Wim Billington did get 15 goals for us in the league, so there is that as well. But we definitely are going to have to look for another pressing forward. That's the pressingest of issues. Buzidi, though, I like him. I think if he hadn't got those injuries this year, he would have contributed a lot more. And I want to see where that actually stacks up when we do the proper analysis, because I think he's had a better season than we've been led to believe, just because of those stats right there. Joe Bruce is not off at the end of the year, but he is at Cork City for a bit. Sebastian Chan hasn't played as much as I would have liked, but I've still enjoyed his work when he has played. And I think that maybe he got a bit of a tough time, because when Charrier got in the team in his absence, he was struggling to get his place back, basically. So we'll see about that. Charrier, I think he's done okay, but I still wonder if Chan was the better option. Not sure. Really, just not sure. But he might not be here next year anyway. Will Clifford, on loan at Hull. Dale Connor, still only got 2 caps for Wales, but at least he's getting those caps now. I still think there's more room for improvement with Dale Connor. He's got his new contract. He bloody deserves it. He's got an £83 million release clause now. I've liked his work this year. He scored some very, very important goals for us, and he's coming up to 100 league appearances. Might change his training up in the summer, see where we need to go, because he's sort of getting a bit more pace now. Bradley Davidson still has 2 years left on his deal. He might be one that takes a plunge to move to another club in the summer, because I don't think he's ever going to really be preferred, particularly not if we bring someone new in. Sam Dickin, we don't care about him. Russell Griggs, what a god. I know that he's sort of maxing himself out slightly, but sometimes when you find a goalkeeper that does the things that he does, it doesn't matter what else. This is irrelevant to me in respects. We've seen what this guy can do. Until such time as he's making mistake after mistake after mistake, I'm not going to look for a new goalkeeper, because goalkeepers on this game that actually perform like goalkeepers are like gold dust. So yeah, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. He's also made 169 appearances for Whitport already. Ross Harris has been out on loan at Charlton for the second half of the year, just to get him some football, because we had so many left backs. But I do still think there's a place for him going forward long term. Jeff Hayes went out on loan to Fylde for the end of the season. Did not have a very good time there, sadly. And it does appear that there's been a massive hit on his potential. And I do wonder if that's just because we were overrating him in some respects, because that's quite the drop. Aston Herbert also went on loan to Fylde, who are now our affiliate club, by the way. So that's why they've got quite a lot of our players. But it doesn't seem to have helped them all that much, and they've not played that well there. Andreas Holzer was at Gillingham this season. They got relegated from League 2 with him in the team. And again, as you can see, I just don't think he's ever going to be that much for us. Not now that we've got some real quality. Ben Johnson was on loan at Kilmarnock. He was very unhappy there, unfortunately, and did not play that well for them either. Daniel Jones is on loan. No, he wasn't on loan. He's just been chilling at the club. He's never actually played for us, I don't think. He's just had a lot of loan spells. It was just a really poor signing on my part. The wages don't look so bad now, but still. Right, Clive Kibley, and we're back to go. So team detailed, we actually had less possession on average than Blackhaven United. That's interesting. 5 penalties taken. Griggsy's not going to have the penalty record that he did last year, that is for sure. Headers won, more than some teams, more than Watford amazingly. Headers won ratio, into the top half of it, which is what you like to see. Yellow cards, yeah. Not as bad as Bristol City and Burnley, but still pretty poor. 6 reds is not good. That always seems to come down, though, year upon year, once we get ourselves sorted in the new league, so to speak. Where do we go on goals scored? 7th best, 58 goals scored. We were up as high as 3rd in the early parts of the season, but we just weren't scoring as many goals in the second half of the year. We had the odd little flurry like we did against West Ham, but other than that, it was fairly poor. Bournemouth just couldn't score goals. We scored more than Blackhaven, though, so that's something. Cross completion, 19%, not bad. Crosses completed, even higher. You'd love to see it. Goals from corners, sort of middle of the road. Well, actually, no, Rich joined 5th. That's pretty solid, really. Unlike Bristol City, good lord. 6 direct free kicks, Man City. That is an insane amount of free kicks to score. And goals from indirect free kicks, Chelsea with 14. I dread to think what our set-piece record's going to look like defensively, because I know it's going to be bad. Pass completion, not the lowest. In fact, somehow better than Blackhaven, incredibly. This will be the lowest, though. Yeah. By about 500 passes. Chances created, though, still the second most. Liverpool really should have been higher up the league. Manchester City only created 86 chances this year, and yet they literally created an average of 1 goal per every chance created. That is nuts. How is that happening? Every chance they created basically went in, or on average. And yet Liverpool got 177 chances this year and only came 4th. Good lord. Shots on target ratio, though, both Whitport and Blackhaven were the highest, along with Liverpool. Shots on target, yep. Manchester City must have been taking a lot of long shots or something, or just non-chance counting shots for some reason. Conversion rate, 12%, not bad. Fouls against, we've won a few. Dribbles per game, up there with the best of them, though, which is a good sign. Conceded, yeah, better than Blackhaven, but not good. Conceded from corners, only 4. That's very strong. Surprisingly good, actually. Indirect free kicks, 3. Sorry, direct free kicks, 3. Is this one where we tend to struggle? Yeah, 10. Still the worst in the world of this particular one, but I don't think we're ever going to be good at it, unfortunately. Only 7 clean sheets on the board all season. Manchester City kept 29 clean sheets in a single year. That must be a record. Fouls made, one of the highest, but not the most. Tackles won, fairly low. Yeah. Tackles won ratio, also fairly low. Penalties conceded, 4. Could have been a lot worse. To be fair, I think we conceded way more penalties last season, in fact, incredibly. Average attendance, the lowest in the league at 12,000. Blackhaven averaging 22,000, to be fair. So they're going up in the world. Average attendance by capacity, though, 100%. We had 19 sellouts at the Lighthouse, and that's really, really nice to see, particularly as the island doesn't even have that big of a population. People are flocking, I say, to come to the island to see the games. Potentially people even from off the island, it would have to be said. Lowest attendance, obviously, was... hilariously, not us. Bournemouth somehow managed a lower attendance than us. That's incredible. Net transfer spend? Yeah. Manchester City, 144 million. Blackhaven, 108 million, which is a lot, for sure. But what I would say is their salary per annum is still only the 14th highest. So they're spending a lot to improve their squad. And I do feel like by the end of next summer, their salary per annum will probably be more like here. So you'd expect them to actually be pushing for some real stuff next season. But look, we're spending £40 million less than the nearest team, which is crazy. Bearing in mind, Fulham and Burnley went down, and they're spending, like, even more than that. Like, £60 million more. And Bournemouth are spending over £70 million more per year on players than we are. So, yeah, that's quite funny. We're considered rich, of course, because we've got such low costs. Now, obviously, that's going to go up this summer, but we're still going to spend a couple of years just making money hand over fist, just due to how little we're spending currently. This summer might change that, though, because I think some new contracts are in order, and they're going to want big money. Player details. 30 games won for Carlos Larinaga. That is crazy. Yellow cards. Morelli, in fact, with 13 is the most in the entire league. Red cards. Yeah, Luke Watson and Fraser Thompson, both sent off twice each. You don't want to see that. Man of the match, though, Clive Kimberley. Oh, he won English Young Player of the Year. Young Player of the Year for Whitport Athletic at 22. That's brilliant. Danilo Gabriel covered the most distance in total, but look at that, Clive Kimberley. That is insanely impressive. So, fair play to the guy there. Distance covered per 90 minutes. I mean, Buzidi really covering the ground, as is Simon Nelson, which is nice. Average rating, Camavinga was just that little bit better, but the fact that Clive Kimberley is in the company of these guys is astonishing. I don't know if he'll be able to keep that up for next year, but I mean, let's see if he's even here next year, to be fair. Adolf Fuchs was the best. I mean, Wim Billington was still joint 8th with 15 league goals this year, and he's done all right. That's still a pretty solid return for his first ever season in the Premier League. I can hardly complain that much. Still got more than Luis Santos or Blackhaven, so there's that. Average minutes per goal falls down a little bit on that one, and even Dave Morton is like very, very surprisingly high on this. So fair play to him. Chris Chapman of City gets a lot of shots. Shots on target as well. Wim Billington again getting some shots. Shots on target percentage, though. Ropas and Billington at 72 and 71% respectively. If they could just start putting some of these things in instead of just hitting the target with them, then my God, there's some lethality in there. Conversion rate, they bought at 20%. Billington at 19. Clive Kimberley at 18. Ropas is certainly a lot lower than that. Larinaga got 7 out of 8 penalties. Clive Kimberley 2 out of 2. Big up Clive. Assists as well. 14 assists, the joint most in the entire league. And did he do that with the least appearances? No, he didn't actually. Almado is comfortably better than anybody else there. Key passes. Clive Kimberley, second highest key passes in the league too. He got like 9 in one game at one point. And also clearly got way more like actual impact from those passes than Camavinga did. So there's that. 3 less, I mean, didn't quite get it. I can understand why Gallego got that, really. But again, Kimberley up there on that stat too. Pass completion, we never have anyone on this one, but that's fine. Cross completion is kind of meaningless. Bozidi and Nelson both on there in the top 20 dribblers in the league, which is really, really encouraging. And I feel like with Nelson on attack next year, that could be a real situation for us. James Bagari, or Bagari, tackles per 90 minutes. That is a lot. I might scout him because he's been relegated. And what about Ramiro? Oh, no, he's going to be really old, isn't he? Yeah, 31. Jermaine Williams as well. Fulham have got some interesting players here that could definitely be worth a scout. I want to make sure that's actually scout. Oh, the skin does actually let you do that now. Okay. It's always worth a little crack when you see players that potentially could do that. What about this guy as well? Another fullback. Actually, he's not as good. But still, it's always worth having a look at some of the players that have been relegated. Mistakes leading to goals? Yeah, no. Bargary did make a lot of mistakes, but I suppose when you're playing for Fulham, the choice is very limited of what you can do there. He's done a pretty solid job. I would be interested to see him. Oh, what about this guy? Fall as well. Wait, this is mistakes, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, no, it's key tackles. So key tackles, actually. Oh, hello, friend. Yeah, you look quite good, don't you? Then again, it's a left back. We don't need more left backs, Matt. Come on. Head in the game. Key headers, Fraser Thompson. 121 key headers for him. That is astonishingly high, and I'm really, really pleased for him. That's a good sign for me. Interceptions, even Thompson's got on this one too, which is really nice. Shots blocked, Dale Connor doing a good job, as is Fraser Thompson. Goalkeeping, I mean, Euclides Montero only conceded 11 times for Manchester City all season and got 26 clean sheets, which means that it might not actually be the record purely on that. Saves held, Griggsy with 127, saves parried, Griggsy even further up on that one, and penalties saved. Griggs actually only saved 1 so far this season, so he couldn't quite match what he did last year, where he saved 6 out of 7, which is crazy. Or was it 7 out of 8? It was a lot of penalty saves. So there we go. Let's go do a little bit of actual player analysis now. Maybe slightly briefer. I don't know. We'll see. So left-sided players, really, we're comparing Vertelbor and Vukuripa. Never only played 90 minutes, and Michael Lee, when he did play, only played at left wing, and it was only for an hour. So, well, Vertelbor covered a bit more distance. We did concede a lot more goals with him in the team, though. Like, a considerable amount more, to be fair. Wins a few more tackles. His passing is worse. More key passes. Better in the air. Wins more headers. Dribbles better. Crossing is narrowly better and is more creative. We score more with him in the team, but our PPG is lower. So, I think what it is... I mean, it's a decent sample size, though. That's 12 games that Vukuriba started. But I mean, it could have been the opposition. But it is interesting to see just how much worse we are with Vertelbor in the team from a defensive standpoint compared to Vukaripa. Who is he better defensively? Not really. Maybe it's just one of those things. At the end of the day, I don't feel like left back is a spot we need to strengthen in right now. Vertelbor and Vukaripa are both spectacularly good for what they're doing right now. Great determination. They're just great characters to have in the squad. They're experienced. They've got great personalities. They're the kind of players I really do like. Now, say I was to find a really talented 18-year-old left back that we could bring in, and that's the sort of thing I would do potentially, but it certainly isn't a player that's going to start for us within the next 2 or 3 seasons. So I think left back's kind of sewn up already. The right side has basically been the Charrier show, but with Sebastian Chan playing a little bit of a cameo too. So what I'm going to do is just arrange them so they're next to each other so we can compare the two. I wish there was a way you could literally just like select players and then just hide them from the view. I think that'd be a really cool feature to have. FM21, if you're listening. So yeah. Again, worse defensively with Charrier, but it's a lot closer this time. Tackles 1 is identical. Chan wins at narrowly more tackles. And again, relatively close for virtually everything. Chan is better at the dribbles and has got better crossing. Weirdly, less assists. Yeah. Less assists, but he does create more. And their PPGs are virtually the same. I mean, they've basically had very, very similar seasons. What I would say, though, is that Charrier is considered to be better and is a lot younger. 7 years younger. I mean, he's on loan, so it's really hard to know who would play there next year. But if we didn't get it back on loan, I feel like we'd be having a bit of a hole in the right back spot because Sebastian Chan is getting older. He's still only 26. He's in his peak nearly. But there's not a lot coming through behind him, which is the concern. I mean, if you just turn on the under-23 squad, there's very little that gives you any kind of hope to come beyond there. I think that's one area where we're sort of struggling now. There's not a lot of youth coming into those either fullback positions. So I'd say, I'm going to put in my notes here, basically, young fullbacks. Because I think that's one area where we definitely do need to bring in some talent that can just, not play perhaps, but just be there, you know? And maybe there's some players that will come back from loan that could fill in. So Harris on the left-hand side, but there's really nothing on the right, I would say, at all yet. So centre-backs. A few more options here with Dale Connor, Fraser Thompson, and I guess Marcolini. I don't know if there's any way I can group these guys together, sadly. I mean, I know there is because I can do the thing with the exclusion from Matchday Squad. It just takes forever to sort it all out, and then you have to keep undoing it for every single player. So, obviously, these two are our starters. I feel like Marcolini has done okay, but you could see, like, instantly, we could see more goals with him in the team. He makes way less interceptions. Tackles is solid, but he's winning less of them. Passing is not too bad. Key passes is sort of on par with Connor. But Fraser Thompson is obviously a better player for that. His headers one, though, is far, far worse, and he just wins way less in the air. He's not the tallest, is he? I mean, 6'2", which is actually, I believe, taller than Dale Connor. Oh, no, 6'3", and Fraser Thompson 6'5". But that's still very, very poor in the air. That could cost us at times, to be fair. We can, yeah, I mean, you can see the difference here. Marcolini, he's not there yet. But I do feel like we're actually not too bad in centre-backs because Thompson and Connor, if we can get Thompson back, are excellent. Marcolini is a reasonable substitute, but I feel like Omar Afkir next summer, who's he wanted by? Chicago Fire on loan. Yeah, not happening. I had him listed for loan before, but I'll remove that. I think next year he's the guy that's going to come in instead of Marcolini, and I want to see what he's capable of because I do believe that there's something there for him, but I want to give him his chance to do that. So again, if we can find a young centre-back that's really, really high quality, but for now, again, the centre-back spot, it's currently occupied by a 4-star with 4.5-star potential and a 3.5-star with 5-star potential. So that's and they're young too. Like, if we could get Thompson permanently, this feels like a partnership that could go on for years, and I'd be happy with that. Until such time as we go to Serbia and steal their best player who's 6'9". That's just how it goes, though. You know how it goes. So let's move on to the M's. So really, the only player that's played in that central, in the literally the playmaker role is Clive Kimberley. He's not missed a single. He's probably missed some minutes in matches, but he started every game for us this season in every competition. 38 in the league, 3 in the cup. He's just been a god in every single one. But that doesn't actually worry me too much. I was going to say because if we got an injury to Clive, we'd be fucked, but we're actually not because we've got Raul Costa coming in from Romania, and he will be the perfect understudy to Clive Kimberley. He's already like 3-star. He's solid. So really, what we're trying to figure out here, firstly, is just how good was Kimberley. 3.36 key passes per game. Ironically, his pass completion wasn't even that good, but then that's because he is really trying to provide opportunities. So who did better, Morelli or Luke Watson, is the big question for me. So instantly, Luke Watson would concede more goals. Now, obviously, he does cover more distance, to be fair to him, and he does get sent off way more. So there is that as a problem too. Wins less tackles, obviously. Passing is worse, although his key passes are much, much better than Morelli. He's got a little bit more passing quality about him, it would seem, but he is worse in the air, comfortably worse in the air. Gets more assists, though. Chance creation is about, well, he's just worse. We score less goals, we concede more, and his PPG is narrowly worse. But I still don't know if he's someone I want to get rid of. And again, if we can get Morelli back next year, I feel like if Fraser Thompson and Morelli can can come back for another season. Although Morelli's only got 62. I don't know. It's hard to know. I don't know what the market's like. So with some of the, I want to get Fraser Thompson back. He's the only one of the loan signings I'm like desperate to get back. Charrier I could take or leave because I do feel like we could find someone else, potentially even just a better loan signing for a year. And Morelli's a similar story. Thompson's the only one I'm desperate to have back next year. Even if I have to pay through the nose and pay £30 million to get him permanently, I'm actually okay with doing that, provided I feel like long-term he's the guy for this club. He's so versatile. I love him so much. So, yeah, that's kind of the midfield, really. If we could get a work permit for Matteo Serna as well, that would give us even more of a boost in that position. I might turn Spain on in the summer to see if we can get him loaned out for a bit to maybe help along with that. We'll see. So as for the left side of midfield, it's really just a comparison of Nelson and Morton as things go. So, well, I mean, as you can see, better defensively with Morton in the team. Does make less interceptions, though. His tackling is definitely worse. Then again, makes a decent number of tackles. Key passes, though, more for Dave Morton. Worse in the air, though he's still pretty solid in the air. Dribbles per game is almost identical. Nelson can cross a bit better, but Morton's better in terms of the creativity, in terms of both assist and chance creation. We do score less goals with Dave Morton in the team, though he himself is better at scoring goals. He hits the target a little bit more and he takes more shots in general. But you can see that Nelson overall is just slightly better. However, I do feel like Nelson, if he plays in Morton's role, he might be able to get more on par with Morton from the attacking perspective, because there might be situations where Morton's getting into the box where Nelson is not because he's on support instead. So he's choosing to cross instead of to shoot himself. Although, frankly, Morton's done okay on the creation stuff too. So maybe we just need to get Nelson up into that role and get him learning that role, get his finishing slightly better, honestly. If we can just work on his finishing for a year, get him up to like a 10 or an 11, provided he's got the room, then I think he could start to become even more potent. And in terms of average rating, he has had the better year. If we could find a really good left-sided player to maybe bring some extra balance here, I'd be tempted, but he's not going to be starting for us because Simon Nelson is going to be starting in this role for the foreseeable future. I don't see anyone coming in that's going to be better than him right now, and I wouldn't want to either because it would cost too much and we don't need it. So maybe a younger left-sided player that could, or even just someone who can give Dave Morton a bit of a run for his money as a bit of competition for that second spot. You never know. And on the right, I mean, there's a lot of players here that have played games. Buzidi, Schutter, and Puck McKiley. I mean, it should be fairly clear that Buzidi is the best of the bunch, it would seem. So best defensive record here, and it kind of just goes down as Puck McKiley's much worse. Buzidi makes a decent number of interceptions, but so does Schutter. Puck McKiley not so much. Tackles one. Puck McKiley does love a tackle, as well we know. So him getting stuck in there is no surprise to me whatsoever. Key passes, though. Look at this. Puck McKiley with a 1.45 on the key passes. The guy still does a job. Like, he's got a decent defensive ratio from his headers. Not as good as Schutter, but still pretty solid. He doesn't dribble anywhere near as much as the other two, which makes sense. But his cross completion is still right slap bang in the middle. It's nuts how good he's able to be. He even has an assist, which is just sensational. The chance created up there, we do score less goals and his PPG is lower. Like, we can't pretend that Puck McKiley is going to be playing football for us. Like, he's 27 and he has done amazing things. Who's he wanted to loan? Oh, he's listed for loan, right, okay. It's just incredible there. But I do feel like we've actually got some real options in that side. But just because Buzidi is 21, really decent and room to grow. Schutter is 18, really decent and room to grow. I don't think our right side is in any danger currently. That doesn't feel like an area that needs strengthening yet, because I feel like they're actually growing nicely. Now, I might even just bring in another, like, if we can find a 17-year-old who's strong with room to grow, then I'd be happy to do that, quite frankly. The one thing that worries me about Buzidi is he's only got a balanced personality. Now, with the right mentoring, we could maybe get that to work, but the problem is I think he has quite a high squad influence, meaning that it would be less likely that he'd actually take on that personality. What I really want to be able to do is bring in some young players, dump them into a mentoring group that involves Simon Nelson, and watch them model citizens fly. That's the plan. Obviously, that's very, very difficult to do, but one day he will be the captain and he'll be a team leader, which means that model citizenness is going to be absolutely vital for us at that time. The fact that he's managed to hold on to it too. The last time I had a model citizen on a save, he lost it after like one season and then became like a spirited or something along those lines, and that was bloody Diego Raposo. So there you go. Right, let's check out strikers. This is going to be a fascinating one. The reason this one's so interesting to me is because conceivably we are looking at every player you can see on your screen right now, because this is the real troublesome spot. Nobody got above a 7. This must be the first season in this save, practically, where none of our strikers really hit the ground at the sort of level you would expect from them, essentially. Team conceded per 90 minutes. I mean, Bradley Davidson hasn't played enough, but look at this. Ropas, actually fairly solid, compared to Wim Billington anyway. But they're all above a reasonable level. Tackles, again, Billington and Ropas doing a decent job there. Levy, though, not bad. Sullivan Struggles a little bit on that side of things, but he does make a decent number of tackles anyway. Key passes, again, Ropas, not bad. 0.88 is very strong. It's the highest, in fact, of any of these players. Sullivan's got that aerial ability, though, which is what I really, really like. And that kind of makes a bit of a problem for us, really. But it's good to see that Ropas is such a good key passer of the ball. His pass completion is solid as well, but he's really getting those key passes out of him. Dribbles per game, Billington's not. Oh, actually, no, it's pretty solid. Levy's actually done really well. 3.48 dribbles per game. The guy's getting past people. Cross completion, Ropas and Billington both around about 20. Obviously, Sully's higher, which makes sense. Assists, again, Sullivan the highest on that one, but Ropas is better than Billington. Chance creation, again, better than Billington. Team goals per 90 minutes. We do seem to score less, though, with Ropas in the team for whatever reason. You can see that Sullivan is comfortably the highest in here and has the highest PPG in the entire team. Shots on target percentage, though, 74% for Demetrius Ropas. He takes a shot and a half on target per game. I feel like his XG... Does anyone else get the opinion that Ropas has just been a bit unlucky this season? It feels like if there was XG available... Apology. Had to sneeze there. If there was XG, I feel like Ropas's XG would be much, much higher than 3 goals. And maybe Win Billington's would be a lot lower than 15. It feels like they've been very, very similar in terms of their performances this year. And somehow Win Billington has got 15 goals from that. And Demetrius Ropas has got 3. I feel like maybe he's just been super unlucky. And maybe we've just had... I'm prepared to maybe start Ropas next season based on what I've seen here. I don't know what you guys think about that. I do, though, feel like we need to find another pressing forward. Because the problem we've got is that Billington, Levy, Ropas and Davidson really... I mean, Davidson, I suppose... No, he can't, though. Are all the left-sided striker. And Fran Sullivan is the only sort of right-sided striker we've got that can play that pressing forward role. And you'd argue he's probably the weakest here, but I feel like this is a little unfair because of that serious injury he's suffered. Now, he'll be back next season, but he's not going to be back for the start of the year. My guess is that with an injury like this, the rehab phase is going to be like a month and a half potentially by itself. So I wouldn't expect him back till sometime in September, October maybe. It's not ideal. And we need someone to play that role for us because you can see that we dropped off our goal scoring in the second half of the year dramatically. And I believe it's because, 1, Sullivan wasn't chipping in himself, and 2, he wasn't creating the chances to score the goals. So, yeah. I feel like Ropas and someone else might be the strike force for next year. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, I feel like a lot of our money might go on 1 or 2 signings, like a centre-back if it's Fraser Thompson, or maybe a cheaper option if we can find a gem in, like, Eastern Europe or something, and then a striker. There's a lot of strikers about, but finding the right one is going to be really difficult because there's not a lot of good pressing forwards. We've always struggled to find them. Spencer Doyle, that guy from Rangers, is the other one I'm looking at, and he might well be the guy. I've been chasing him for years now, and this might finally be the season that I bring him in, but it may cost us 20 million to make that deal done. Annoyingly, we could have gone him off Spurs for 5 million, but we just did not have the funds available at the time. But we'll see. Maybe he's not performed for Rangers. I don't know. I'd have to sort of do a little bit of an investigation into that. Maybe we can find some value elsewhere. It's really, really hard to say at this point. So... that concludes it. Do let me know your thoughts in the comments, as always. Obviously, now, I read them, but I never actually see them until after I've done the transfer window, because that's just how it goes. But I always find it interesting to see whose opinions line up with my own and whose don't, because then I can still take those into account for following seasons, and it sometimes changes my logic. So I'm always quite happy to listen to those sort of opinions. So, yes, word of the day. The word of the day is going to be Superdrug, because Em has left her moisturising blue lip balm on my desk, and it's got Superdrug written on it. So there you go. That's your word of the day. Hopefully that doesn't get the video demonetized, because YouTube's weird like that. But hey, we'll take it. We'll take the hit if we have to. So yeah, drop that in the comments. Use it in a sentence somehow if you can. And yeah, if you've enjoyed it, drop a like. That'd be superb. Streamer Showdown is probably still going on right now. So if you fancy watching that too, head over to Twitch right now. Expect I'll be losing with my Jordan IU frontline. That's going to be fantastic. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. That'd be sick too. And I will see you guys tomorrow in a Fisherman outfit for some transfer goodies. I'll see you soon. Thank you so much for watching. Hold your gun. Capybara. Bye-bye.